Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to review how easy it might be for a tech worker who's making more than six figures to go paycheck to paycheck and pretty much broke. So a lot of people have this fantasy that, oh, if I make more than six figures, my life is going to be complete and it's going to be awesome, right? And there's plenty of cases and examples of people who make a lot of money and going broker at higher levels. And I remember when I first heard about like this plastic surgeon who made like $500,000, but he had to pack his own lunch because he was going broke. I was like, how is that even possible? Because I was only making like 20 something thousand dollars a year, and I was like low income, and I was like, how do you do that? But as you make more money, your expenses just creep up, and it's really not necessarily your fault, but it's really easy to go broke. It's not necessarily about the money that you make; it's also about the money that you keep. So that's why people in certain areas who don't make that much money don't feel the stress as much as someone who does make a lot of money, but the cost of living or expenses are higher. Now, I would say that in the case of the tech worker who we assume is going to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the main reasons why they're broke is because of the cost of housing, right? So I just typed in what percentage of Bay Area spends on housing in Google, and it says nearly half, 45% of Bay Area spend more than 30% of their income on housing, and a quarter spend over 50%. Folks, if you spend over 50% of your money on housing, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel that pinch in your chest saying, I'm almost going broke, and there's too much month and not enough check. And you know the Bay Area has changed drastically from what my understanding of it growing up in the 90s, because um here this is my image of like San Francisco back in the 90s. And if you've never seen the TV show Full House, go ahead and watch it to kind of give an idea of what this used to symbolize. So here, this was the house of the Tanner family where they lived. So this was in the 90s. This just kind of used to be a middle class house where you'd go ahead and raise a family with good family values. Now it's kind of transformed into this dystopian thing where only the super elite rich can afford it. And this house went on the market, I think, recently. I don't know how recent this article is, but it says right here that it was on the market for 5.999 $6 million, right? So something that used to be like the symbolism of a strong American middle class that anybody could raise their family in is now a symbolic wealth of the super elite rich, right? And even if you're able to afford this house, there's still a certain point where even unless you're a gajillionaire in that area, we have this article where it says how making $300,000 in San Francisco can still mean you're living paycheck to paycheck, right? So if you had to buy this house, you'd have to be a super gajillion whatever maker, money, like a really, 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 really rich person, more than $300,000 to be able to live comfortably in that home. Now, one other thing too, and I'm going to kind of go into this, is that the cost of a house is not just the cost of a house, especially if you finance it with the mortgage. Your average person does not know how a mortgage works, a 30-year mortgage. In fact, when I first, I know a lot of a lot of people are attracted to this channel because of the velocity banking material. But I remember when I first learned about velocity banking, I was so shocked to learn how a mortgage works because no one had ever told me, right? And your home is the biggest purchase of your life. And so when I found out, like, oh, 3%, you make this much? 5%, what? 9%, like that's insane. You'll realize, why it is, because of just housing itself, why it's so easy to go broke. Okay. So I just did a search for San Francisco, California, realtor.com. Let's just kind of take a look at these prices. So this one's a $3.7 million home. And this is one's about a $860,000 two-bed, one-bath condo, another $850,000 condo. So you can see that these prices are kind of up there and they're out of reach for just almost anybody. Like, I don't think I could even afford these homes, and nor would I want to. But this one bed, 1.5 bath in Buchanan Street is $1.5 million. you know, if you ever decide to buy this house, again, it's not just the cost of the home, you have to take into account the cost of the mortgage. So I'm going to go in here, right? And I've already entered some of the values, but let's just kind of take a look. So $1.5 million, 7% mortgage, and 7% is not 7%. 7% at 30-year mortgage is different from a 7% at 10-year mortgage. Okay. And let me just kind of show you here that the total interest that you pay on the loan is more than the cost of the home, assuming it's 100% financed, right? I always like to use 100% finance so you get a visualization of what it means to mortgage the entire amount of the house. Okay. So $1.5 million, the bank actually gets more at a 7% mortgage rate, which is kind of like the current mortgage rate now. They get more than the cost of your home over a 30-year mortgage, right? And then you could easily see, oh wow, I'm not just paying 1.5 million for this, whatever this is. I don't think it's even a home, it's a condo or something, one bed, 1.5 bath, right? I don't know why anyone would buy it at that price, but let's take a look here. So let's just see how much we're actually paying. So we're paying for a 1.5 million dollar home. And then let's take into account the interest, which is, we'll just say 2092633. All right. So basically, we're paying $3.6 million if we decide to actually go to the end of the 30-year mortgage, which most people, Americans, never do, right? But again, this $1.5 million is a $1.5 million home, folks. And because most people are so, even people who make those six-figure salaries in tech world, they may be soft and smart in software, but because they just don't do a basic calculation, or they just want to ignore it, or they're so in love with the cost of owning a home, that $1.5 million home is actually costing $3.6 million. And that's probably, the amount of interest that they'd have to pay a year is probably, they're not probably making it up in like a 401k or an IRA to offset this, right? And here's the thing, even if the home costs, even if the home costs, I'm the home, the equity, the price of the home doubles, right? If it doubles from 1.5 million to, let's say, 3 million at this 7% rate, they're not going to win, right? Because they pay 3.5 million in total. So if I think I'm paying 1.5 million, that's the original price I pay, and then the home equity or the home value doubles to 3 million and I pay it off, I'm still losing because I paid 3.5 million in total, right? So people think, oh, my home's an investment, but it's not. It's not really an investment. You have to, if you have a 30-year mortgage and you just pay off the 30-year mortgage as is, most of you will lose. That's why it's important to pay off that mortgage early, whether you use velocity banking or not, because you're going to essentially have to pay, and let's just calculate how much interest this is. So 2.092633 divided by 1500000, that's 139% return for the bank, right? I don't know any investment where that'll get you, where you're pretty much guaranteed 139%. But folks, there's a reason why banks have the tallest buildings in every single metropolitan area in the United States, because they're making these loans, and they're making, like, this isn't one loan that they're giving out. They're giving out millions and millions and millions of loans. And if each loan is pretty much making them 139% interest, you can see why the bank is making the bank, or make the banking bank, right? No pun, or pun intended, actually, but the bank is making bank 139%. So what are the lessons learned? So let's just kind of take a quick gander of what did we learn today. It's not about what you make, it's also about what you keep, right? So high salaries are great, but if you live in a high cost area, most of it is going to necessities like housing, where you're spending 50% of your income or more on housing, then it's I'd rather live in a lower cost area and make a lower cost salary, right? That's just me. Number two, you have to understand the true cost of a mortgage, right? So what does a 3% mortgage mean? That means that's a 50% return for the bank. What does 5.4% mean? It's a 100% return for the bank. 9.4%, what does that mean? It's a 200% return for the bank. So you want me to quickly show you, let me just make this an easy number, $100,000, and I put a 3% mortgage, you could see that I pay about $50,000 in interest. If all I do is tweak this number, 5.4%, then now it's $100,000, right? So it's a 100% return for the bank. If I tweak this number to 9.4%, then I pay $200,000. Now, just take these numbers, right? Put the same thing and just multiply it by, whatever. So if it's 3%, I'm actually paying 50% of this in interest, right? If it's 5.4%, I'm paying $3 million, so 100% in interest. If it's 9.4%, I'm actually paying 3 times this, right? Folks, you just have to know how a mortgage works. Like if you want to impress other people, you don't have to impress them with velocity banking. Impress them with how a mortgage works, and most people, I'd say at least 80%, being conservative here, will be absolutely blown away. But this is how a tech worker would be broke, making more than 6 figures. Again, right here, this article says how people making $300,000 in San Francisco can still mean you're living paycheck to paycheck. So I'd rather make 100, 150 in a low cost area than never live in San Francisco at 300,000, and also avoid the feces, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so just be aware why it's so easy for someone who does make 6 figures at that area to live paycheck to paycheck, because they just don't understand how mortgages work. They spend way too much on housing, and they don't understand it's not about how much you make, but it's about how much you keep. And also, understand the concept that people who make more money are broke at higher levels. Making more money at a certain point isn't going to solve your problems as much as learning how to manage your cash flow. Okay, so this is a Korean Atlanta mentorship. If you have any questions, comments down below. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google form link below and submit your information, and we'll give you contact. And also, you can email us by going to the About section of your YouTube channel, and email and finding out our email address there. Have a great day, everybody, and we will speak next time.